At 25, I thought I finally had my life under control. A stable job, a quiet apartment, and a promise I made to myself after my last breakup. No more chaos, no more drama, and definitely no more getting dragged into someone else's mess. But life has a strange way of testing the rules we set for ourselves, especially when the person who breaks them is someone you once cared about. It all started on a Thursday morning, one of those crisp, calm days where nothing feels dangerous, when I received a text from my ex, Mia. We hadn't spoken in 8 months. The breakup was messy, full of accusations and late-night arguments, but after it ended, we went our separate ways and I thought that was it. Her message was only 5 words long, but it sent a cold punch through my chest. We need to talk. Urgent. I ignored it at first. People say those exact words when they want to pull you back into their spiral. But then a second text came, sharper, heavier, impossible to brush aside. I'm pregnant. It's yours. My hands went numb. I read the words again, slower, as if that would somehow change them. My mind started spinning, replaying timelines, dates, moments, trying to make sense of something that didn't make sense at all. The math was wrong. Way off. We broke up 8 months ago. Her claim was impossible. Yet fear has a way of drowning logic, and for a moment I felt the world tilt under my feet. Before I could even respond, my phone started ringing. It wasn't her. It was an unknown number. When I picked up, a stern, older voice thundered through the speaker. This is Mia's father. We need to meet. Today. You will take responsibility for what you've done. In the background, I could hear shouting, her mother crying, someone pounding on a table, Mia sobbing dramatically. It felt like I had been thrown into the middle of a family storm I had no part in creating. Sir, I tried to say, keeping my voice steady, there must be some mistake. I haven't, no more lies, he exploded. If you think you can run away after ruining my daughter's life, you're mistaken. We expect you at our house by 6. And just like that, he hung up. I stood in my kitchen, phone still pressed to my ear, heartbeat thrashing against my ribs. Something was very wrong. I knew it. I felt it in my gut. But I had no idea just how far this lie would go, or how quickly it would spin into something that threatened not just my peace, but my job, my reputation, and the very stability I worked so hard for. I sent Nia a single message, I'm coming. But you and I both know this doesn't make sense. Her reply came instantly, as if she had been waiting for that moment, just come. Please. I should have walked away. I should have blocked her, ignored her parents, and kept my life intact. But I didn't. Because I still believed people wouldn't lie about something this serious. That night, everything I thought I knew about honesty, trust, consequences, and Mia began to fall apart. And the fallout didn't stop with her family. It reached my workplace. It reached people I never expected. It reached the very edges of my reputation, threatening to drag me down with a lie so big it almost swallowed me whole. And I hadn't even heard the worst part by the time I arrived at Nia's parents' house that evening, the sky had already turned a bruised purple, like the world itself knew something ugly was about to unfold. Their porch light glared down at me as I walked up the steps, every board creaking under my weight, announcing my presence whether I wanted it to or not. Before I could even knock, the door yanked open and her father, red-faced, stiff-jawed, chest puffed like a man preparing for war, grabbed me by the arm and pulled me inside. The living room looked like the aftermath of some emotional explosion. Her mother was slumped on the couch, eyes puffy and red. Mia sat in the middle of the room with a blanket wrapped around her shoulders, looking small and fragile, like she had rehearsed the exact expression she wanted me to see, and then there was her father, pacing back and forth like a judge preparing to read a sentence. Sit, he ordered. I did. The moment I sat down, Mia sniffled dramatically. I told them everything, she whispered, refusing to meet my eyes. A heavy silence stretched the room, thick enough to choke on. I felt every pair of eyes studying me as though I were already guilty. You got my daughter pregnant and tried to disappear, her father barked. We will not allow you to abandon your responsibilities. You will marry her. My stomach dropped, but I forced myself to stay calm. With all due respect, sir, I said carefully, that's impossible. Mia and I haven't been together for 8 months. Whatever she's going through, it isn't related to me. The room erupted instantly. Her mother began crying harder, asking why I was pretending, why I was hurting their daughter again. Her father slammed his fist on the table, shouting about shame, about family honor, about how he wouldn't let his daughter be mocked by neighbors or extended relatives. And through all of it, Mia just stared at the floor, squeezing the blanket tighter around herself, as if she were some innocent victim caught in the crossfire. But the moment her parents glanced away, her eyes flickered up at mine, sharp, calculating, cold. That quick flash told me everything I needed to know. She wasn't scared. She wasn't broken. She wasn't confused. She was lying. And she knew it. Mia, I said, locking my eyes on her, you know this is impossible. Why are you saying this? She didn't answer. Instead, she shrugged deeper into the blanket and gave the softest, most pitiful whimper, a sound clearly crafted for her parents' ears. Her father stepped in, voice shaking with rage. If you refuse to marry her, we will make sure your employer knows exactly what you've done. Children out of wedlock, abandonment, moral misconduct. Let's see how your precious corporate job feels about that. That caught my breath. I knew the company I worked for. I knew how strict HR was. Even something implied could spiral into an investigation, into rumors, into permanent stains on my record. Sir, I said slowly, you can't blackmail me. Blackmail? He scoffed. This is justice. The conversation went nowhere from there, just loops of accusations, shouting, emotional manipulation, and veiled threats. I finally stood up, forcing myself not to yell back. I'll get a paternity test, I said firmly. If I'm the father, I take responsibility. If I'm not, this ends here. Her father smirked, and for a second I saw something in his expression that chilled me. Oh, you think it'll be that easy? He said. We don't need a test. Mia already told us the truth. As I walked out, I caught Mia's eyes again. This time, there was a flicker of panic, as though she hadn't expected me to fight back. As though she suddenly realized her lie now had to survive more than just her parents' pressure. But the real blow didn't come from her family. IT came the next morning, when I walked into work and noticed the sudden silence. Conversation stopped. People avoided eye contact. And then my manager called me into her office with a serious, tight-lipped expression. We received a complaint, she said, sliding a form across the desk. A very serious one. My blood ran cold when I saw the name on it. Mia's father. He had actually done it. And the accusations weren't just about pregnancy. They were about moral misconduct, workplace character concerns, and behavior unbecoming of a company representative. My reputation wasn't just at risk. My career was about to be dragged through the mud over a lie I had absolutely no part in. And the worst part? The HR team wanted to investigate further. Meaning all it took was one lie to put everything I worked for on the line. As I sat there, the realization sank in, this wasn't about a baby. It wasn't about responsibility. It wasn't even about me. This was about Mia needing a way out of something, and I had become her perfect scapegoat. And I had no idea that she was hiding the real reason behind her lie, a reason that was about to blow everything wide open. I spent the entire morning in that suffocating HR office, answering questions that felt like traps, watching my manager scribble notes while trying, and failing, to hide her discomfort. Every time I denied the claims, every time I insisted the timeline made no sense, I could feel the unspoken judgment hanging in the air. People don't lie about something like this. But they do. And Mia was proving it in real time. After the meeting, I walked back to my desk feeling like I had a spotlight on me. Coworkers whispered behind their monitors. One woman I regularly ate lunch with avoided me entirely. My inbox had a mandatory meeting notice from HR, flagged high priority, scheduled for the next day. My job, my stability, the one thing I poured my 20s into, was slipping through my fingers because someone else decided my name was convenient. At lunch, I stepped outside just to breathe, to clear my head, to remind myself that I wasn't crazy. That's when my phone buzzed again. A message from a number I didn't recognize. Meet me. Now. I know what Mia is doing. I can't stay quiet anymore. Attached was an address. And a name I hadn't seen in months, Emily. Emily was Mia's cousin, quiet, observant, the kind of person who noticed everything but rarely said anything. I remembered her clearly because she was one of the few people who never took part in the drama between Mia and me. I didn't know whether to trust the message, but at that point, I was drowning in accusations with no lifeline in sight. So I went. The address led me to a small cafe on the edge of town, one I had driven past 100 times but never actually stopped at. Emily was already there, sitting in the far corner, nervously fidgeting with her jacket zipper. When she saw me, she exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for hours. "Thanks for coming," she murmured. "I didn't know who else to tell. And I don't think you deserve what's happening." My pulse quickened. "Emily, what's going on?" She took a moment, gathering herself. "Mia isn't pregnant," she said quietly. "Not even a little." For a second, her words didn't register. My mind had been so tangled and stressed that hearing the truth spoken so plainly almost felt unreal. "Then why?" Emily leaned closer, lowering her voice. "Because she's desperate. She's been lying to her parents for months. She told them she had a steady job, but she got fired. She told them she wasn't seeing anyone, but she is. Or she was. And when that guy dumped her 2 weeks ago, everything fell apart." My eyes narrowed. "What guy?" Emily hesitated, then whispered, "A married one." The cafe noise faded into a dull buzz as the weight of her words settled over me. Mia had gotten involved with a married man, gotten caught or dumped, and needed someone to take the blame so her parents wouldn't find out the truth. And she chose me because I was familiar, accessible, and out of her current life enough to absorb the damage without her losing anything. "Her parents would disown her if they knew," Emily continued. "They're strict, old-fashioned. If they found out she was seeing a married man, they'd throw her out." I felt anger ignite low in my chest. Not just anger, betrayal. I had already taken enough damage. My job was in jeopardy. My reputation was being publicly dragged. And all because she needed a shield from consequences she created. "So she lied," I said, voice low. "She lied to her parents. And she lied to HR." Emily nodded painfully. "They think you're responsible because she told them she was only with you. It made you the easiest target." I leaned back in my seat, staring at the ceiling for a moment just to force myself not to explode. "Why are you telling me this?" Emily's eyes filled with something like guilt. "Because Mia already knows her lie might not hold up. Someone overheard your conversation last night. People are talking. And her parents are pushing her for proof. She's panicking. So she's planning something even worse." A chill swept through me. "What is she planning?" Emily swallowed. "She's going to fake a medical emergency. A miscarriage. Something tragic enough that no one questions her story." I felt sick. Not just disgusted, but terrified of what that kind of lie could do if she actually went through with it. Because a lie like that doesn't just ruin reputations, it ruins lives. "You need to protect yourself," Emily whispered. "Because once she does this, your name will be permanently attached. No matter what the truth is." As I sat there absorbing her words, I felt the walls closing in. Mia wasn't just desperate, she was dangerous. And if I didn't stop this lie now, she would burn everything around her just to save herself, even if it meant dragging me down with her. But what I didn't know was that Mia had beaten me to the next move. Because while I was sitting in that cafe, learning the truth, she was already setting the stage for her next performance, one that would explode into a disaster by nightfall. And I wouldn't find out until it was already too late. By the time I left the cafe, my mind was a hurricane of anger, confusion, and cold dread. I didn't drive home right away. Instead, I sat in the parking lot gripping the steering wheel, trying to steady my breathing as Emily's words replayed over and over in my head. "She's going to fake a medical emergency. She's going to blame it all on you." I thought I had been prepared for the worst, but that level of manipulation, that level of cruelty, it was beyond anything I ever imagined Mia capable of. Still, I had a plan forming. I needed evidence. Proof. Something solid enough to defend myself against her claims, something I could take to HR, to her parents, to anyone who would listen. But before I could even begin figuring out how to protect myself, my phone started buzzing violently. First a text. Then another. Then a flood, like a dam had broken. I unlocked my phone and felt my stomach twist. Messages from coworkers. Voicemails from HR and missed calls from unknown numbers. And then, the one that made my blood run cold, a voicemail from Mia's mother. Her voice was hysterical, broken, trembling. "She's in the hospital. Something happened. We need you here. Please, she said you caused this. Please come, please." It hit me like a blow to the chest. She had done it. She actually went through with her plan. She faked it, or worse, forced it, to make her story unbreakable. And now, somehow, I was being dragged deeper into a nightmare I didn't create. Against every instinct screaming at me to stay far away, I drove to the hospital. I had to. Not for Mia. Not for her parents. But because if I didn't face this now, the lie would grow into something monstrous, something I wouldn't be able to escape. The hospital lobby buzzed with nurses and rushing footsteps. But as soon as Mia's father spotted me, he marched over like a storm ready to break. His face was red, twisted in a mix of fury and grief. Before I could even open my mouth, his hand shot out and grabbed my collar, slamming me against the wall so hard the sound echoed. "You did this to her," he roared, his breath hot against my face. "She was crying because of you. Because you refused to marry her. And now look at what you've done." People nearby turned to look, some shocked, some whispering, some already pulling out their phones. A nurse rushed over, shouting for him to stop, but he held onto me like he wanted to break me in two. "Sir," I choked out, "I didn't do anything. This is a lie. She's lying about everything." "Liar," he screamed, tightening his grip. "She lost the baby because of you." The words hit me harder than the shove. Lost the baby. She had taken the lie to its final form. I pushed him off me, stumbling back as a security guard rushed between us. "Where is she?" I demanded, voice shaking with fury. "Where is Mia?" Her mother, sobbing into a tissue, pointed toward a room down the hall. I didn't wait for permission. I stormed down the corridor until I found her room, heart pounding, every muscle tight with rage. And there she was, lying in a hospital bed, blanket pulled dramatically to her chest, eyes red, cheeks damp with staged tears. A monitor beeped softly beside her, though nothing about her looked genuinely injured or distressed. She looked like an actress waiting for applause. The moment she saw me, she sniffled and turned her face away, putting on a weak, trembling voice. "Why are you here? Haven't you done enough?" That was it. That was the breaking point. I shut the door behind me, stepping close enough that she couldn't hide behind theatrics. "Stop," I said, voice low, sharp, deadly calm. "You're not pregnant. You never were. And I know everything." Her eyes widened for a split second, just long enough for me to see the truth, but then she forced more tears, trying to regain control. "You're cruel," she whispered. "Even now, after everything, after your child, don't," I snapped. "Don't you dare. You dragged my name through HR. You told your parents I ruined your life. And now you staged this? Mia, this isn't a lie anymore. This is defamation. This is harassment. This is," she cut me off, her voice cracking. "You don't understand what they would do if they found out the truth. You don't understand how much pressure I'm under." "Pressure?" I repeated, laughing bitterly. "So you destroy my reputation instead? You jeopardize my job? You fake a miscarriage and blame it on me?" She didn't answer. She just stared at her hands, breathing shaky, eyes darting like someone trying to find an escape route. "Emily told me everything," I added. Her head jerked up. She looked stunned, betrayed, furious. "She what?" "She told me about the married man. About your lies. About how you used me because I was the easiest target." For the first time, the mask cracked completely. Her expression twisted, not with guilt, no, with anger. She had no right, she hissed. She wasn't supposed to get involved. She doesn't understand what I'm dealing with. "Mia," I said quietly, "you need help. But dragging me down won't save you." She glared at me with a venom I had never seen before. "If you walk out of this room," she whispered, "my parents will believe everything I say. HR will believe them. Everyone will. I'll make sure of it. And that was the moment I finally understood. Mia wasn't trying to scare me. She wasn't trying to manipulate me anymore. She was threatening me. Because she had nothing left to lose. But she had no idea that by the end of that night, she would lose the one thing she thought she still had control over, the truth. And when it finally came out, it would blow her entire life apart, so violently, so publicly, that even her own parents would turn against her. When I walked out of Mia's hospital room, I didn't feel relief. I didn't feel closure. I felt a cold, burning resolve settling deep in my chest, like something inside me had finally snapped into focus. I wasn't going to let her destroy my life piece by piece. Not my reputation. Not my job. Not my sanity. I had spent weeks drowning under her lies, suffocating under the consequences of something I didn't do, but now I finally had the truth. And truth, even when ugly, is a weapon. But before I could wield it, I needed proof. Real proof. Evidence that couldn't be twisted or manipulated. Evidence that HR couldn't ignore. Evidence her parents couldn't shout over. Evidence even she couldn't spin into another performance. I left the hospital and sat in my car, breathing through the tremors in my hands. The parking lot lights flickered above me, casting long shadows across the windshield, and for a moment I just sat there, exhausted, angry, raw. Then I opened my phone and called the only person who had stepped forward, Emily. She picked up on the second ring, her voice trembling. Did she go through with it? Yes, I said. She staged the whole thing. Or at least pretended to. Now her parents think she lost a baby I never fathered, and she threatened to keep lying. Emily cursed under her breath, a shaky, frustrated sound. I knew it. I tried to talk her out of it earlier. She said she had everything under control. But she doesn't. She's spiraling. And I'm the one paying for it, I said bitterly. HR is already investigating me. If this lie catches more traction, I'm finished. Emily hesitated. I have something, she whispered finally. Something you need to hear. But you have to promise you won't tell her it came from me. Emily, I said, at this point, you're the only person I can trust. What is it? There was a moment of rustling, like she was moving to a quieter corner, then her voice dropped to a whisper. Mia didn't go to the hospital because of stress. She went because she thought it would convince her parents the pregnancy was real. But she slipped earlier this week. She told her friend, Lana, that she was going to fake a crisis to buy time. I heard it myself. I recorded it. My breath caught. Recorded? Yes. I didn't mean to at first. I was recording a voice note for school and she started talking in the background. When I realized what she was saying, I saved it. I knew this would blow up. Hope, real, tangible hope, sparked like a flame in my chest. Can you send it to me? Yes, she whispered. I'll send it now. But her parents need to hear the truth, too. They won't believe anyone unless it comes from her own mouth. They'll hear it, I said firmly. Tonight. The audio file came seconds later. When I pressed play, Mia's voice spilled out, sharp, irritated, frantic, saying everything I needed HR, her parents, and the world to know. I'm not pregnant, okay? I never was. But I need them to think I am. If they find out about him, I'm done. So I'll just say something happened. Something sad. Something that makes everyone stop asking questions. Her laugh, cold, practiced, manipulative, echoed through my car speakers. They'll blame my ex, she added. They always thought he was the problem anyway. Hearing her voice admitting it, not suspected, not guessed, not implied, but admitting it outright, sent a shiver down my spine. I had everything I needed. I drove straight to her parents' house. The moment her father opened the door and saw me, his expression twisted with rage. You have some nerve showing up here. After what you did, I didn't do anything, I said sharply. And I have proof, he scoffed, opening his mouth to bark another accusation, but I pulled out my phone and pressed play. Mia's voice filled the hallway like a ghost tearing through the walls, her confession clear, undeniable, unmistakable. Her mother stumbled backward, hand flying to her mouth. Her father's face drained of color, then flushed with a different kind of anger, an anger no longer aimed at me, but at the daughter who had put them all through hell. When the recording ended, the silence that followed was colder than ice. "Get out," her father said hoarsely. "Not you, her. She will get out of my home tonight." Her mother burst into tears, not the dramatic wailing she had done before, but the devastated kind of crying that comes from betrayal. I didn't wait for more. I left them with the recording and headed straight to HR. I emailed the file. I documented every threat, every lie, every message, every timestamp. I attached a written statement longer than some college essays. When HR called me back within the hour, their tone was completely different, cautious, apologetic, almost trembling. "We need to schedule a formal meeting," they said. Immediately. That night, Mia didn't just lose control of her lie. She lost everything. Her parents. Her carefully crafted story. Her chance to manipulate the narrative any further. And when she realized she was cornered, with evidence she couldn't twist, deny, or cry her way out of, she made one last, desperate attempt to drag me down with her. But by then, her words no longer had any power. Her lies had finally run out of places to hide. And what she did next would expose the darkest, most unhinged side of her, one that none of us were prepared for. The next morning felt different, not calmer, not safer, but charged, like the air right before a thunderstorm cracks open the sky. I barely slept. My mind kept replaying the look on Mia's father's face as he listened to the recording, the way the color drained out of him, the way his entire posture collapsed as though someone had cut the strings holding him upright. It wasn't satisfaction I felt. It wasn't victory. It was exhaustion. But it was also the first time in weeks that I felt the ground under my feet again. Real ground. Solid. When HR summoned me for the urgent review meeting, I walked into that conference room armed with every shred of proof I had. The HR manager, 2 senior officers, and even my department head were seated around the table, their faces tight and serious. For a moment, I thought they would try to defend their earlier suspicions, but the moment they greeted me, I knew the tide had already turned. "Before we begin," the HR manager said, addressing me with a tone that was almost respectful, "we want to acknowledge the seriousness of the evidence you provided last night." They played the audio recording in full. Hearing Mia's voice echo through the room, calculated, manipulative, cold, made the hair on my arms rise. When it ended, no one spoke. The HR manager finally exhaled and shook her head. "We apologize," she said. "We should have handled this more carefully. We acted on allegations without full context." "I understand," I replied, though in truth, part of me didn't. Part of me remembered the silent stares, the whispers, the immediate assumption that I was guilty because the accusation fit a narrative they were too willing to believe. But I wasn't here for apologies. I was here to rebuild what Mia tried so hard to tear down. "We formally closed the investigation," she continued. "Your record remains clean. And we are preparing an incident report to document the false allegations made against you. If she or her family contacts the company again, we'll treat it as harassment." Relief washed over me, but not the warm kind. It was sharp, urgent, like the way your lungs burn when you finally break the surface after being underwater too long. I walked out of that building feeling lighter, until I stepped into the parking lot and found Mia sitting on the hood of my car. She looked nothing like she did in the hospital bed. No tears. No weakness. No shaky voice or trembling hands. She was composed, eerily composed, with her arms folded and her jaw set like someone preparing for a final battle. The moment she saw me, she slid off the hood and walked toward me with slow, confident steps. "Enjoy your little victory?" she asked, her voice dripping with bitterness. "Mia, you need to leave," I said, glancing around for witnesses. "We're done with this. HR has everything." "Oh, I know," she replied with a cold, humorless smile. "My parents told me. They threw me out last night. Bag and all. Congratulations, you got what you wanted." I stared at her, stunned. What I wanted? "Mia, I never wanted any of this. I just wanted my life back." She laughed, a broken, half-maniacal sound that sent a chill skittering down my spine. "Your life?" she sneered. "You think this is about you? You think I did all this because of you? She stepped closer, eyes burning with a mixture of anger and something far more unhinged. I needed time, she said. Time to fix things. Time to figure out what to do. My parents were breathing down my neck. That man, she stopped, biting her lip hard enough to draw blood, the married one? I said. Her eyes flared. You don't get to judge me. You don't know what it's like to have everything crumble at once. He promised me things. He promised me he'd leave her. He promised. She cut herself off and wiped her eyes aggressively, refusing to look weak. When he dumped me, I had nothing. Nothing. No job. No money. No stability. And my parents, she shook her head, laughing again. They think I'm perfect. They think I'm this innocent little girl. If they found out the truth, I'd be done. They'd disown me. Mia, I said carefully, your solution shouldn't have been to destroy someone else's life. I didn't destroy anything, she snapped. I borrowed yours. Just for a little while. I stared at her in disbelief. She wasn't apologizing. She wasn't remorseful. She was rationalizing everything, bending reality to fit the narrative she needed to survive. It's over, I said firmly. You need help. Real help. And you need to stop involving me. Something twisted in her expression. Something dark. Something dangerous. No, she whispered. You don't get to walk away. Not after everything. She reached into her bag and pulled out her phone. You think HR's little report protects you? It doesn't. You think my parents will suddenly forgive you? They won't. I can still fix this. I can still make them believe me. Mia, I warned, stepping back, don't do this. Why not? She hissed. I can cry. I can scream. I can tell them you threatened me. I can tell the police you hit me. Who do you think they'll believe? The poor girl who lost a baby or the man who already has a complaint on record? And then she smiled, a slow, chilling smile that told me she was willing to burn everything to the ground if it meant keeping control of the story. That's when I realized the truth. Mia wasn't trying to win. She was trying to drag me into the abyss with her. Because if she was falling, nobody was going to fall alone. What she didn't know, though, was that someone else had been watching. Someone who had been quietly recording her meltdown, and within minutes, everything she said would be weaponized against her, not by me, but by a witness who stepped into the chaos at the worst possible time.